Thank you so very much for joining us again. Good day to you.
It's my pleasure. Good day.
How's COVID doing coast to coast here in Canada? Are we winning or are we losing?
Yeah, we are winning in a sense, and we're losing in a sense as well. No, globally, I think it's petering off. The deaths are declining very, very rapidly globally, suggesting that the pandemic, broadly defined, may be coming to an end, which is fantastic news. But COVID itself isn't going away anytime soon, so we're probably entering the much discussed endemic, slightly seasonal phase. We have a lot of transmission still happening, though, a lot of transmission. But we also have a lot of immunity in the population. So those two factors don't exactly balance each other out, but that's the competition right now, immunity versus transmission.
In the last 9 days, Moderna making lots of headlines. I believe it was about 9 days ago. It says it's coming out with the first booster that will contain a couple of versions of the virus, not including Omicron. Also saying that we're learning that they'll build the production facility just outside Montreal for producing vaccines, and has asked U.S. officials and are working on the application for Canadian officials to get boosters into the arms of 6-month-olds all the way up to age 5. So lots of news from Moderna. Your reaction to those three items that are coming forth from the biotech company?
Yeah, all very inspiring. First, the multivalent vaccines, always expected. Glad to see that it's movement happening there. That's the future for sure. Multivalent COVID vaccines, multivalent flu vaccines, maybe combining them all into one shot in the future so that we can account for all the circulating strains currently around. That's going to be fantastic. Building a facility in Canada, of course, great news. One of the things we have to do to prepare for the next pandemic is to make sure we have live vaccine manufacturing and distribution platforms in every major part of the world, including on Canadian soil. That's going to help enormously. The one thing I'm most excited by is the news of a vaccine option for kids under 5, because I have a toddler. This is something that preys on the parents of small children daily. This is going to help enormously. Now, the efficacy of the shots for kids under 5 is not great. It's around 40% or so to prevent symptomatic COVID, but it's probably much higher than that in preventing hospitalization and death, which is what we really care about. So I can't wait for this to be an option for my child.
What do you reckon the process will be for approval? Are we talking days, weeks, months?
Something between days and weeks. It'll be rapid. The data exists. I'm pretty sure the people who need to see the data have already seen the data. It's a matter of having the meeting and deciding upon weighing the risk versus benefits and applying that to the context of grander societal values. Also predicting what other outcomes are down the pathway. One of the problems with weighing benefit versus risk is predicting what the burden of disease will be in the community in coming weeks and months. If it's going to be substantial, then the benefits of vaccination vastly outweigh the risks. If transmission will not be substantial in coming months, then that calculus is more complicated. I suspect they're going to weigh in favor of authorizing the vaccine.
And what it's interesting to me is that so far Pfizer hasn't been able to do this. It is now working to see if 3 small doses of its version will produce a good immune response in that same younger subset of kids. Moderna is doing it in 2 doses. Should this be heartening to parents that even though Pfizer is still trying to work on this, it's to me very clear they're trying to provide those children between the ages of 6 and 5 years old with the smallest dose possible in order for it to work?
That is definitely heartening. Nobody wants to inject their child with a foreign substance. But if you're going to have to do so, you want to do so as minimally as possible and with as fewest doses as possible, even though the risk is going to be minuscule. In fact, the safety data I've seen is quite inspiring. And it's a reminder that the 2 doses, the 2 products, while interchangeable in many ways, are not absolutely identical. There are important differences in them, and that's being borne out in the efficacy data.
1,436 new cases discovered in the past week here in Manitoba amid limited testing, 20% up from the week before. As far as outcomes, more positive. Slight increase in hospitalizations, 188 in the past week, 12 new ICU admissions. That's down from 22 the week before, but it's still the push to get that booster dose, that 3rd dose, and in some cases that 4th dose. We do that, And we get rid of this a whole lot quicker, don't we?
We do, and the reason for that is the 2 doses do really well in preventing serious disease and hospitalization, absolutely. 3 and 4 doses help curtail actual transmission. So that prevents you from getting infected in the first place, and if you can't get infected, you can't pass it on. Nothing's perfect, of course. We're talking here about probabilities. So the idea is to get enough people with maximum amounts of a certain kind of immunity so that the ability of the virus to penetrate into the community is highly curtailed. So I think if you are eligible, I encourage everyone to roll up your sleeves and get that 3rd or 4th dose. Again, the risk is minuscule, whereas the potential benefits are substantial, both to you and to your neighbors.
Some may say, listen, if Moderna is going to come out with this multi-strain booster, hopefully we're seeing perhaps by the fall. Should I wait for that, or should I get the booster now?
The problem with waiting is that you have many months then where you're susceptible to infection, and if you become infected, you're susceptible to long COVID and any number of bad outcomes as well. If you become infected between now and the fall, you can pass it on to somebody else, and they might get seriously ill. So I think it's in the interest of grander population health not to wait, to get your shot now. Nothing prevents you from getting boosted sometime in the future with the new multivalent formulation, because we probably are looking at additional boosters sometime in the future, possibly months or years ahead.
Ray Deonandan is from the University of Ottawa. He is an epidemiologist. As always, we thank you for your time and your insight. Thanks for doing this.
My pleasure. Thank you.